Hi, I'm Jack, and I'm here to talk to you guys about the fourth theatrically released live-action Spider-Man movie known as The Amazing Spider-Man. Yes, we have reached that part of our series of Spider-Man reviews in anticipation of Spider-Man No Way Home. And I cannot wait to talk to you about this one, because this is actually the second Marvel movie I've seen in theaters ever since I saw the first Avengers movie. It was my first live Spider-Man movie I've seen, and Spider-Man is easily my favorite Marvel character ever, and this movie has been pretty important in my childhood era of my life, and so I cannot wait to talk about this movie, because this was one I did rewatch a lot when I was younger, so I cannot wait to talk to you guys about The Amazing Spider-Man. It stars Andrew Garfield, Emma Stone, Rhys Ifans, Sheen, Sally Field, and many more in this movie. Spoilers ahead. This movie has been out for 9 years now. I will mention spoilers in this review, so if you haven't seen it yet, please watch the movie afterwards and then come back here if you want to hear the rest of the video. Aside from that, this is your only warning, so this is your last chance if you haven't backed out by now. And with that out of the way, let's get started. The Amazing Spider-Man follows Peter Parker as he tries to learn more about the mystery of his parents' disappearance and why they've abandoned him when he was a little kid. Aside from that, he gets bitten by a radioactive spider and turns into a superhero known as Spider-Man. And alongside of all that, he befriends and falls for a girl named Gwen Stacy, but then he has to protect the city from a creature known as the Lizard who wants to wreak havoc across the city. To kick off the positives, I thought the acting was great. Andrew Garfield is a really good Spider-Man in this movie. He nails the acrobatic aspect of the character, and all he does is stunts for this movie, and he shows so much passion and care for this character in The Amazing Spider-Man. And you can see that because when he was a kid, he loved Spider-Man so much, and you can see in the movie that he's putting all of his heart and soul into this role, and he absolutely nails that. And as Peter Parker, you see his intelligence when he tries to find out why his parents abandoned him, what happened to them, and especially when he got into Oscorp, where he gets bitten by the radioactive spider that gives him his powers. And you've seen throughout the movie, especially when he tries to find Uncle Ben's killer and all that, you see he's intelligent. Andrew Garfield really nails that aspect of the character. And while some people might not like that he's a skateboard, he just uses a skateboard, I'm not too bothered by it, but I do think he gives us a unique portrayal of the character. But Emma Stone is really good as Gwen Stacy in this movie. As the love interest that's not Mary Jane Watson from the Raimi trilogy, I thought she did a great job portraying Gwen Stacy. And she and Andrew had marvelous chemistry in this movie. You can really sell that these two love each other and that they're easily some of the best comic book couples we've seen on screen, without a doubt. And Rhys Ifans was good as the Lizard. And while the Lizard is a character I will go into later, I thought he does a good job with what he's given for the role. And I thought Sheen and Sally Field are really good as Uncle Ben and Aunt May. Uncle Ben, he's different sort of than the one we saw in the Raimi trilogy, and he says with great power comes great responsibility, a little bit differently, but his death still leaves an impact on the character because Uncle Ben is a character we all connect to, and that his tragic loss his death is what leads to him building into Spider-Man. And Sally Field is great as Aunt May, and she does such a great job in the movie, even if she worries a lot in this movie. And another positive about this movie is I think this movie has the best Flash Thompson out of every one of the movies. While the Raimi trilogy Flash did give us some iconic memes, I thought this Flash, he sells us that he's a bully, but I love the scene, especially when after Uncle Ben died, he tries to calm Peter down, and Peter just slams him against a locker, and you see that, and he does a great job as Flash, and it's a shame they've never done much with him after this. But overall, the acting was good from the cast in this movie. Another highlight of this movie is the score by James Horner. While we do have an iconic theme from Danny Elfman, James Horner gave us a great soundtrack for The Amazing Spider-Man, and especially themes like the end titles, which is amazing and easily one of the best live-action themes for Spider-Man. We also had a lot of great, it really works well for all these scenes, especially if it's an action scene, a web-swinging scene, climax, and especially even in those Peter Parker scenes. And James Horner does a really good job composing the score for this movie. Rest in peace, James. You did a great job here. Two things that really live up to the title of Amazing Spider-Man are the visual effects and cinematography work. They're just so well shot. They feel like they could be something you could hang up on a wall, and it's just so good. The cinematographer of this movie does such a terrific job helming this movie in that department, and the visual effects are eye-poppingly gorgeous. It's so amazing how well they hold up to this day, and I cannot wait to see them return to see what they're going to do for Spider-Man No Way Home, because they're going to come back there. But man, the visual effects and cinematography are truly amazing. It is absolutely gorgeous, and they hold up so well for a movie that came out in 2012. This movie, alongside the Amazing Spider-Man 2, have some of the best visual effects and cinematography work out of any Spider-Man movie we've had so far. Marc Webb is a good director for this movie. After coming off the successful 500 Days of Summer, he got tapped to direct the next Spider-Man movie after the Raimi trilogy, and I thought he did a good job with what he had to work with. Sure, the movie does have a lot of scenes set at night, and it sometimes feels like it's a very dark movie in terms of tone, but I thought, nah, he handled it well. I liked how he tried to make this movie more grounded and a little more realistic than the Raimi films, and I thought it works well, and I thought he did a good job with what he had to work with in this movie. The web swinging scenes in this movie are spectacular. This one right here is so gorgeously shot. It looks marvelous. It is easily one of the best web swinging sequences I've seen out of any Spider-Man movie. This is my personal favorite of the movies in the Amazing Spider-Man series, but it's just gorgeous. Even in the beginning, when you see him testing out his webs and seeing does his powers work and all that, it's really cool to see, and they look really great, and it's so marvelously done. It really lives up to the title of amazing. However, that brings me into my negatives, and I thought the Lizard was a bad villain. Now, the design was fine, but I thought the character motivations for Lizard were not very clear. It's like he wants to turn the city into lizards, but why? Like, to make them stronger people, I guess, but where did that idea come from? At first he wanted to help himself get his arm back, but then all of this happened. It just feels kind of strange. It's not entirely clear, which is why Spider-Man 3, while that movie has more villains, their character motivations were clear, because at the time this movie came out, Lizard was the worst villain out of any Spider-Man movie we've had that time, until The Amazing Spider-Man 2 gave us another, but we'll save that for that review. So Lizard, I like the Lizard in the comics and in other media, like the Spectacular Spider-Man, but here, did not like him. Easily one of the worst parts about the movie for me. Another issue I had with the movie was the parents' plotline. It didn't do anything for me. It didn't really elevate the story in a way. It didn't really add anything to Spider-Man, in my opinion. I felt like it just feels like it was there just to add to the marketing that this movie was basically the untold story of Spider-Man, yet it doesn't entirely feel that way. Like, the parents' plotline could have been a lot better than what it is, and it could have actually meant something, but it just didn't do anything for me, and it's something that I could have done without. But what I think they should have done was, they have the plot line, but by the time Peter is okay with being Spider-Man and with who he is, they stop it at the end of this movie, because that sadly carries over to the next movie, which I will talk about there. And I felt like it just was just not needed, at least to me. Not as negative as Lizard and the Parents plotline, but I felt like I didn't like that moment in the end where Peter told to Gwen, it's like, but those are the best kind. And by that, it meant don't make promises you can't keep, because I don't think it's faithful for Spider-Man to just make promises if he knows that he won't keep them. Spider-Man always, or most of the time, makes promises that he always keeps. I don't like that line. And the fact that it's the last line or one of the last lines, didn't like it. It sort of ruins the ending by a bit. And I wish they got rid of it or just changed it. Like, I get they need to do that to get Peter and Gwen back together, but then it felt like a slap in the face to Captain Stacy, because he told Peter, leave Gwen out of this. But then he broke that promise by the end of the movie when they got back together, but then it continued on to the second movie, and we know what happens there, but I'm going to talk about that later. So, yeah, I didn't like that. So, again, while it's not as bad as Lizard and the Parents plotline, I did not like that line at all, and I do not think that should have been there. But hey, the final web swinging sequence is still really awesome to this day. In the end, The Amazing Spider-Man is a great reboot to the Spider-Man film franchise with a great new lead in the form of Andrew Garfield, with a great pair of romance chemistry between Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone. The Amazing Spider-Man, while it's not amazing, it definitely does have a lot of great moments and some of the best visuals we've seen in a Spider-Man movie. I'm going to give The Amazing Spider-Man a B. And you should definitely watch it. Check out this movie if you love Spider-Man, or if you love Marvel or comic book movies, or even if you're just a fan of the actors. Definitely check out this movie. Well, it's not my personal favorite Spider-Man movie, nor is it really up there on that top 4 area, but it's a worthy addition to the film franchise, so definitely check it out. I will have a review for The Amazing Spider-Man 2 at some point. That one will be really fun to do. Anyway, those are my thoughts on The Amazing Spider-Man. I would love to hear your thoughts on this movie down below in the comments section. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram and Twitter. My username is down below on the screen. And thank you guys so much for watching. But don't forget to give this video a like, comment down below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button and subscribe for more.